So our first question was from Jeremy. Jeremy Webb. Where's Jeremy? Excellent, great. So his question is, and I think this is aimed at you, right? Skyscanner white label, will that be the new Yahoo pipes?
Oof, I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with Yahoo pipes. Apologies.
Anybody in the room remember Yahoo pipes?
Yes.
Matteo.
A tool where you could kind of drag and drop data sources and do kind of clever stuff and get an answer out the bottom. It seems like, is that kind of what you want to do with the white label next, is to make something that people can customize kind of in a very simple way? I don't use the white label products, I use the affiliate stuff, but it would seem like it's the way to go.
Yeah, I think really for people to choose their own journeys and to having had that intimate understanding of what their customers want more than I can even provide is where we like to go. So I kind of used the example before, but WordPress. WordPress is great. Like I love it. Just like being able to take something, add it to there, and there are things that are hard coded always, but at least you have that nice flexibility that will allow you to put in functionality or allow you to show things differently. I think that to me travel's unique, but the experience that everyone has, the pain that everyone suffers, is not unique to one person, but the way that it's presented may be different. By culture, it can be different by partner, etc.
Great. Now I think the next question is from Tadas. Tadas, where are you?
Here.
Great. Great question. Do you want to read it out, or shall I for you?
Yeah, so my question was, how is Skyscanner a consumer product affecting the development of the B2B product? That's a question for Mark.
Great. So how's this for yourselves? How's the consumer product affecting the B2B product development?
So I think I think there are benefits to both. So we get some unique features and functions that the rest of the company may not have. But I also think that by doing that, we also need to build a pipeline to provide those cool things that people love, and the white label needs to do that. And we'll see that hopefully in the next the year ahead. We'll see some more functionality that will allow us to tap into Skyscanner. I mean, the way I see it, it's like, man, they have a really cool multi-city function, or they have some really cool functionality. I want to be able to choose that, and I want our customers to be able to really make that experience very personal. And I don't take it personally if my team doesn't develop it. Like that, our job at the end of the day is guys like Neil to go out and sell a really good product that people are excited about, that we really are changing things and changing the way people can consume travel. Great.
So, well, the next question that is being typed out, I'll jump in. So, Ross and Neil, great advice to have a salesperson involved in the product development, product decisions. But how different is that from user testing, from UX? How do they fit together? Is it the same thing? Is it a different approach? Over to yourself.
Yeah, so I suppose what's been great about Ross's team, it's quite a small tribe. I think there's 15, 16 people. I'm the only commercial guy, but I have quite a lot of remit when it comes to customer feedback around how they're using it. So a lot of my sales cycle at the moment, still in this kind of product iteration phase, and this kind of early stage, has been, okay, find the right clients, sell to them, onboard them, and then it's quite a big focus on feedback loops and so on. So I'm bringing UX guys into the conversation, and I'm seeing where the flow breaks down and the user journey breaks down. So Ross, you kind of lead the way in this tribe in terms of making sure that you've got essentially a partner advocate, which is kind of sits with me, a lot of it, and that kind of filters down into all of the relevant functions within the tribe.
Yeah, I'd say the big distinction is.
Do you want to take
the big distinction is a sales guy helps you get the really macro sweeps early on, right? Especially if you're in a B2B product, it helps you to get the really big things ticked out. And then UX and those sort of things percolate in when you start to, they're kind of local peaks. But the big sweeping things, if you can see that, it's a really good leading indicator, and there's not many of those, right? You don't have many metrics that will tell you before you've even touched a line of code what you should be building. Neil's kind of our canary. So.
Fantastic. So there we are, salesperson as canary in the coal mine. Good. Great. So our next question is from Jamie Sunderland. Jamie.
Hello.
Great. Do you want to shout it out?
Yeah, sure. I think you partly started answering it there, but it was a question for Ross. How did you figure out the root cause of said problem?
No, yeah, it's a weird one. You end up sitting there looking at all these different parts of it, and there's no. I don't think there's a formula to it. Like, I don't think you can. It just ends up being you know, they have this thing in product where they say the best product managers ask why 5 times or something. You know, that, I guess that's the closest thing to a formula also. But if you keep on asking, keep on going back, like, why are you referring it to this person? What are they doing? What's the purpose for it? And then actually from that, if you ask that enough times of enough mechanics in your system, you'll kind of see the big chunks at the bottom that it always just percolates down to. So I guess that's the closest formula I could throw at it.
Okay. Any more questions? James.
Neil, one for yourself. The customers who stopped using your product, have you managed to convert them back to the new product, and if so, how?
Good question. I think, yeah, a lot of them have converted back. And it's the iteration that we did in the product. So I think, as Ross said, we found the root cause of why they were dropping off. Although a lot of them didn't really know why they were dropping off, they just knew that it wasn't overly helpful, the product as is. We were able to go back to root cause and say, okay, we're going to develop payments, we're going to develop invoicing, all this end of month reporting, basically offering the base product expectations you would find from a paid solution like a TMC or a corporate agent, and we're going to do it for free. Once you throw that back into the mix, there were an instant conversion. So that kind of graph that I showed there with the spots, when we gave this presentation to the board, we actually have the exact same companies, and it's just an instant green there. So this
It's like an
shift,
80% of the drop-off, pretty much.
80%, yeah. So there's a massive shift to yes, we're interested in this, and we're ready to move forward. So, yeah.
I guess there's a subtlety to it as well, is that if you asked them what the problem was, they would say something here or there or wherever it happens to be. It wasn't until you really dig super deep and then fix that, things like, actually, quite right, I can't be asked doing that.
Great. Any next question? Excellent, sir. Can you say your name and question, please?
Sure. My name's Ben. My question is, you've got a kind of a great mechanism now for making your core products fit within a corporate environment, right? And you've dealt with all that nastiness of why would we use Skyscanner. Have you made changes to the core offering that suits a business traveller's needs rather than a leisure traveller's needs?
That's an awesome question. We want to, effectively. And we have made a bunch already. So there are all sorts of things around the richness of data that business travelers care about. So they don't just care about the cheapest price. They're far more interested in comparing products and looking at all the loyalty implications of it and the basis codes and a billion different things that go within that. So yeah, there are a whole bunch of small things that we've done in the short term. There's a whole bunch of long-term changes that we're making on an infrastructure level, but there are a lot of smaller wins that you can do, even just the way that you show things like flights, just to stop prioritizing the cheapest flight. You know, we make scheduling now core of everything. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of changes that we've made to the core product. And I guess that's another crux of it, is the minute that you segment and say we're going after these guys, you can cater for them 10 times better than you are when you're trying, which is, I guess, back to your point from your presentation.
Great. Another question from Tadas. Sorry, Craig, but he tweeted it, so he gets in ahead of you. Tadas's question for us: how much Wizard of Oz stuff is going on in the current Travel Pro product? What do you mean by Wizard of Oz stuff, Tadas?
What I mean by that is the sort of manual labor that you're inputting as part of delivering the service that's not automated in software.
Again, awesome question. One that makes people uncomfortable when asked internally, but it's diminishing every single day is the first thing I always caveat it with. Quite a lot, to be honest. So we started off doing absolutely everything. Taking it and booking it, that's manual. Bringing it back in, dealing with service, doing some of the invoicing. But it kind of makes product development really easy when you just wrap metrics around what people are doing and then just see where time it's being spent on the longest thing, and then you just almost have a rank list of stuff. So yeah, I mean, we're not the only people that are doing this, right? So that little feed on Facebook in the top right-hand corner, like trending articles, that's manual. Like there's all sorts of tech companies across the world. It's much easier to automate or to iterate with people and then fix it in the wake of that. So I guess it's kind of actually a core to the philosophy of the way that we're developing product.
Great, Craig.
My question was, given the monthly invoicing, let's say there's 30-day payment terms and that's got quite serious implications in cash flow. So as this product scales, or can this product really scale to that degree and stay free?
So we use a third party for all that stuff. That's another good point, actually, kind of tied in with that, is don't build it if you don't have to. And we didn't want to build a bank, so so we outsourced that. So yeah, I mean, there are some implications around that, but in theory, again, this would be an answer up, like, yeah, yes, it will scale.
The far longer term is to keep this free then?
Oh yeah, 100%, yeah. And add more and more to the offering to make it even easier for Neil to get on with his job.
I'll be redundant with it.
Great. Sam Heyman, do you want to?
Yep.
Do you want to? Great. Sam, tell us your question, please.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Sam.
I have a question regarding how did you figure out that filters were the key thing to change on the white label as opposed to other?
So when I took a look at just looking at it myself, like I just saw the results coming so far down the mobile screen. It's like I can't even see this damn thing. Where the hell did it go? And then I started asking other people. So, oh yeah, this is crap. We just keep going down the line, and okay. Then we started noticing. Okay, well let's have a think about this. So we did some user testing, and then the user said, oh, I got to scroll down, and just that comment was like, man, this must be painful. This is the first thing they see, and what happened was you could see people bouncing fairly quickly because they just couldn't be bothered. And then when we started making the improvements, that's when it became more front and center, the results, and higher to the top. And then you could start seeing people actually interacting with it, and the ones who did absolutely had a good experience. Whereas the other ones, I think, in the old bit, it's just, I think it's kind of gut. I kind of use my gut on this one. It's like, well, if I had a bad time, surely there's other people that had a bad time, and just by going around the desks around us, I think that's one of the cool things like Gareth talks about, is that we like to solve problems for the rest of the world, but if we notice problems internally, we just literally flag it up. Like one of the cool things is we use Travel Pro internally, and whenever there's a problem, I just go to like either Ross's desk or I'll product feedback or whatever and just say, hey man, this isn't good. Can we fix this? But it's cool. That's the open understanding we have from each of us, and I think a lot of people have complained about it. Even on the squad, I was like, I'm really sorry. Okay, let's fix this. And that was the one that I think we could make a change and then also see the impact. And if there was an impact, kind of using my dude slide, but you can actually see other people and the other partners if there was a clear change that honked off a lot of people. And then there was the other bit that was we can't actually anticipate every single person's needs. So that was the one that I thought, well, we can try and make this, but let's do this one first.
Great question. Like dog fooding, can you tell us a bit about dog fooding in Skyscanner, how it's managed, how important it is? That's an example you've just given there.
Yeah, so it depends on the product you have, or it depends on the tribe, but most of us will like just go and talk to another. So David Hamill, I wish he was here. Tell him I give him a plug. But David Hamill is one of our UX and user experience people, and he's really super. I mean, he's been in the product, been the eye on the product for a long, long time. And when I was in marketing and I wanted to suggest something, I always asked David Hamill first. David Hamill was like your encyclopedia. He's met with more people than I think anybody else has, and seen more feedback from any part of the world. And he's an amazing asset to have. And that's my go-to guy. Ross may be different, or Neil may be different, but I always try him first. And I go, has anybody ever complained about this? Yeah. Okay, cool. And then that's where you start the conversations. And you may have other people coming from different parts of the business that you may ask as well, just for funsies.
Yeah, so we have a weird way of dog fooding, I guess, in the team. So the most recent example is we have a small 2-day hackathon And the guys get a couple of days to kick all sorts of cool and exciting things off. And then this is consistent not just for hackathon stuff, but it's a good example for it. And then we just feature flag everything and only make it available internally. So all of these cool random things, they have 2 days to kick it off, and then a month later they have to present the numerical impact of it. And then that impact is always against people internally. So the guys will build and ship all sorts of weird features over the weekend and stick in. I think the most recent one is social trips. So you can track other people's travel inside Skyscanner and see what offices they're going to and this kind of stuff. So we take that, we flag it internally, we only let people internally use it, and then if it works, it's good, then we just switch the flag and let everybody else use it. But
Okay.
that's our approach.
And then just to follow on that, so Travel Pro is presumably used, that's the go-to provider for, Skyscanner's, corporate travel requirements. Is there a requirement, are people mandated to give feedback on a regular basis on their experience of the product? Or?
Oh, they give it when they're annoyed, yeah. If somebody can't check in 20 minutes before they're Ryanair flight, you don't need to have a button to ask them feedback. We get feedback. As I say, they come to my desk and tell me what's wrong. So, yeah, I mean, the people are pretty engaged by this kind of stuff internally. They're all quite passionate, on aggregate, about making things drive forward. So we get more feedback from the people internally, by a factor of 20 times than we do from people outside. So yeah, the company's really good at that.
Yeah, we're not even a B2C side of things, and we get guys from the consumer side going, hey, I noticed you changed this. I was like, what? I didn't even announce this. What the hell? But there are people that are so passionate about making sure we always have the right things in front of the right people that I didn't even know they actually looked at this stuff. I was like, hey, thanks.
Yeah. Our chief commercial officer is actually the highest feedback giver in the entire organisation. Just so he kind of sets the culture, and then everyone else follows. So.
Yeah.
Great. Any more questions from the floor? Just excellent. Can you say your name and your question, please?
Andrew Mill. Kind of a basic question, but for the Business Pro, what's the revenue model that's for free then?
So Skyscanner is a generic kind of consumer-facing engine. Makes a lot of its revenue through commissions from travel agents and airlines. So we obviously have a lot of that in the background. So it's supplier commissions is essentially it. So that whether that's airlines, travel agents, VCCs, whatever, virtual credit card providers, all that stuff. So yeah, we've worked the unit economics. This is kind of we're in the validation period at the moment. It's all looking very, very good. So we're kind of moving into the growth phase based on that.
Great. More questions? I'm going to ask one about, the sheer scale that you're operating at, you've effectively replaced MSN's own travel products. You're white labeling to them. This isn't like a small thing that you're doing here. And you mentioned that you're doing that across how many partners?
Over 300 at this point. Yeah.
Okay. How on earth do you manage that with a team of your size?
Well, it's actually thanks to guys like Neil. So we have our business development managers who have direct relationships with the partners. And then when we want to release a new feature or we want to release some new functionality, we'll pull from certain customers and have a conversation with them and just say, hey, what do you think? Because like Ross, we have feature flags as well that will enable something. We get some feedback. The partner will know about it, and we'll put a nice little bit of code in, and they can go review it. And the case of MSN, it's a good one because we can't test on somebody that size. You don't really want to test on them. So what we did is we showed them what we had. And it's like, wow, this is great. This is fantastic. This is a good experience. And by showing that early, I think it gives us a really good opportunity to showcase what we're up to. And sometimes you don't need that.
Yeah, so I think when I started in kind of the B2B side of things, we had about 5 partners back in 2013. And they're all pretty small at the time. And we just started by working with startups, and we kind of got our foot in the door with a lot of small partners who could do really innovative stuff. And we just used that to leverage into bigger and bigger partners. And we kind of had a strategy for going for big guys like MSN. Like I remember even going after a really small scuba diving website and giving them a white label because I knew that the commercial director at MSN liked scuba diving. And I was like, here, there's a website that you tend to like. So we kind of use that to leverage bigger and bigger partners, and you don't get MSN right away. So kind of 299 partners later, you do land something like that if you kind of have the right strategy behind it.
Fantastic.
The
right strategy.
Sales talk.
Good. More questions? Okay, I'll keep going because this. So, I mean, in terms of, it sounds like there's a lot of innovation. Is there as much innovation on the B2C product, or do you feel that you've actually got more wriggle maneuver, more space to innovate, the core product in B2B than B2C, because people have such strong expectations about what the B2C product is?
So I think that's just that's kind of a scale question. Yeah, it's a risk thing. So we can tear flight search out and put I don't know, hot dog comparison engine, and 25 people will be annoyed. They do that on the B2C site, and there's a lot of money involved. So we just have a much lower risk factor, but I think that there's also a much higher ticket value per head, which means that we can be, and everybody logs into TravelPro, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So it means that it's much easier for us to target specific groups of people and be much smarter about the way that we can test and iterate on stuff. So yeah, there are a few differences because of the basics of the model that let us be a bit more risky.
Great. So do you want to tell us about, because there was a big announcement today, I mean, it's because it's part of your team, there was the midnight announcement. Do you want to, someone want to tell everyone what's happening
We
here?
should just give it a Stefan.
Just give it to
Stefan, come on, buddy.
Welcome, Stefan.
He's product owner of this bad boy.
Excellent.
He didn't expect this, by the way.
I did not expect this actually. Prepared the whole thing. The announcement went out around midnight, but we just launched a Facebook Messenger bot. So if any of you want to give it a try, you can just find it at m.me/Skyscanner, or if you just look for Skyscanner. And we built this thing in 42 days, which was an amazing experience because we started from absolute zero. We doubled in bots before. As some of you may know, we've got Alexa and we've got Telegram, but Facebook Messenger was the first one. And it got to the point that when we released it yesterday and the PR went live, the head of platform partnerships at Facebook just went like, "Oh, thank God, we're not going to talk about bots tonight. Have a good one." He was just quite relieved because I was bugging him every single day. And the bot got approved in about, I think, 3 hours, where the average time for that kind of thing is about 2 weeks on their side of things. So we built a relationship with them. They were really actively involved, and we managed to get it out quite quickly. So pretty much we've got a bot. Give it a try, and let me know what you think, or any of these guys, because you've got their emails. So we can
Let's pencil it in up there on the board.
Yeah.
Right. If no one else has got a pressing question, I think we'll wrap it up here. We'll stick around for another half hour. There's more beer, soft drinks, networks, a chance to speak to Matt, to Neil, to Ross, and to Stefan directly. Please do. A big round of applause for our speakers, please.